Sandra from Moving Worlds here, and today I want to talk to you about career change. So we've helped hundreds of professionals transition their careers for greater purpose and impact through the Moving Worlds Institute following this process. So today I'm really excited to break down the 10-step process with you. Let's go ahead and get started. So one of the nice things about this guide is that it's really easy to jump and skip around so that you can zero in on the places that are most relevant for where you are in your personal career change journey. Now, we're going to jump into step one in just a moment with the assumption that you already have some overarching goals in mind. If you haven't taken the time to kind of sit down and think through and write those out, that's no problem. That's why we added a step 0 here with a linked guide and template to help you go through the exercise of writing down your own SMART goals to guide you throughout the rest of this process. So with some goals in mind, let's jump into the first step of a career change to social impact, which is auditing your strengths. Why does this matter in the first place? So research shows that we're both more satisfied at work and actually perform better when our individual strengths are aligned to our job tasks. Now, keep in mind that a strength is not just something that you're good at. It's something that you're good at that you also feel intrinsically drawn towards. It's something that energizes and strengthens you rather than depleting or draining you. To help you uncover your unique strengths, we created this simple activity to help you look for patterns in both your energy and your engagement related to the tasks that you're already doing on a daily basis. Frameworks like this and also the Gallup Strengths Finder can be really useful here. What you want to do is go through a reflective process to also analyze your signs for each strength, which are basically things that make you feel successful, that you instinctively look forward to, that make you feel like you're growing, and that fulfill a core need of yours. So with a better idea of what your unique strengths are, it's time for the second step of a career change to social impact, which is zeroing in on your purpose. So purpose matters because it's a key component of meaning at work, and meaning drives motivation, empowerment, and career development. You can think of purpose as the reason that you work beyond financial rewards, and it exists at the intersection of who, how, and why we work to create impact. The activity for this step draws inspiration from the Imperative Purpose Framework, which we also incorporate into the Moving Worlds Institute. And that framework also breaks down purpose into the dimensions of who, how, and why. Also linked here, you'll find an interactive template to help you take it a step further once you identify your purpose drivers to really make the purpose statement your own by reflecting on some of your career highs and lows. So that brings us to the third step of a career change for social impact, which is shortlisting your causes. So many of us associate a cause with these kind of heartstring tugging late night TV commercials imploring you to save the rainforest or the polar bears, which definitely applies, but worth pointing out that in the context of this guide, we use the word cause to represent a much broader spectrum of issues and challenges, and also ways that you can get involved in them. You know, we also often see people getting stuck because they aren't sure exactly where to contribute their time and energy. And the reality is that whenever we're trying to choose something perfectly, it can often lead to analysis paralysis and this sense of inertia. That's why in our guide, we share a really simple model with you to think through ways that you're uniquely positioned to both do more good and do less harm in the context of each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. By aligning this with the SDGs, you can be sure that your efforts are contributing to something that the world really needs rather than something that just makes you feel good. So now that you've narrowed down your top causes, we can move on to step 4 of a career change to social impact, which is deciding on your ideal work environment. Why does this matter? the reality is that most people don't quit bad jobs, they quit bad managers and bad work environments. Now, some environments are objectively toxic. This would apply to a sexist work culture or a racist work culture, but beyond the obvious things that makes any place miserable to work at, we're all very different people individually. And so the things that make a work environment engaging and energizing for me might be different than the things that make a work environment engaging and energizing for you. So it's important to keep in mind here that there's no right or wrong answer. It's just about understanding the combination of qualities that you need to be most successful. Across industries and functions, there's 3 drivers of job satisfaction that come up again and again. The first is purpose, the second is autonomy, and the third is mastery. Now, this ties in because your work environment is one of the biggest determinants of your ability to activate these drivers, particularly as it relates to autonomy. So you can use this autonomy audit exercise in the guide to help you flesh out what your ideal environment might look like by seeing how your needs either are or are not currently being met in your existing role. And from here, you can kind of block out the negative space and find some signposts of the types of assumptions that you want to start validating about what type of environment you want to work in next. So with a clearer picture of your ideal work environment, let's go ahead and move on to step 5, which is choosing an organization type. So as we mentioned in the 3rd step, social impact is now something that can happen in every sector and organization type. So any of these different organization structures listed here have the potential to be a place where you can find a sense of purpose and work towards causes that energize you. So how do you go about narrowing them down? We suggest in the guide a 3-step approach that starts off with doing some deep thinking about the qualities of a work environment where you would be able to shine. So that's a bit of what we covered in step 4. The second part would be to identify possible organization types that align with those criteria that you uncovered in the previous step. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, you want to validate those assumptions. So, assumptions can get us into trouble. And the point of validating them is to make sure that what you think about a certain company or industry is in fact reality before you make the switch for real. So a good example here would be startup culture. Some people find the ability to have a lot of autonomy and self-direction exciting, but for people who like having a bit more structure, it could be very chaotic. So I think that's really where validation is going to be important, is in making sure that your ideas about these different type of environments actually match the reality. So to help you do that, we created this For Good career validation board where you can document and then systematically start validating and uncovering questions to ask around all of your assumptions all in one place. So now that you have some potential organization types in mind, it's time to narrow that down even further and start working through step 6, which is finding your ideal organizations. So what makes an organization ideal? It depends on who you are. We would each have a different answer to this, but generally your ideal organization is a place where you can exercise your strengths, find greater purpose in your work and company mission, work towards causes that energize and motivate you, and also work within a team structure that meets your needs for autonomy. It may sound a bit tedious, but taking the time to analyze prospective organizations against these criteria will ensure that you're making a change that sets you up to thrive not just in the short term, in the immediate term, but also in the long term. And to help you keep track of the organizations that you come across through this research, we created an ideal organizations tracking template, which is linked right here in the guide, where you can put questions to follow up on, all of your notes about their mission, core business, and areas of alignment, which you can continue to refine and refer back to later. So now that you have an idea of the general direction that you want to go, it's time for the 7th step of a career change to social impact, which is building your skills and experience. There's really two parts to this step. The first is figuring out which skills and experience you need to earn the job that you have in mind. But the second part is figuring out the right way to then build those skills and experiences in a way that you can prove that you are the right person for the role. Now, there's a lot of different ways to build skills and experiences. Some of them are listed here, but nothing makes a bigger impact on your career trajectory than hands-on real-world experience. That's why we really like to recommend things like experteering, pro bono consulting, to really get out there and prove that you don't just understand something hypothetically, but you've actually been able to leverage it in a real-world situation to create impact. We also share a number of methods to help you shortlist the specific qualifications that you'll need based on some of the research methods we recommended. And as you go through these methods, you can use this skills, gaps, and experience template that we created for you and linked here, just to keep track of everything you're learning and then refer back to identify common themes. With a strategy in place to build your skills and experience, let's jump into the 8th step of a career change for social impact, which is building the right network. So no matter what you do, networking is crucial to success. And this is particularly true when you're trying to make a career change or pivot to a different sector. Many of us have a love-hate relationship with networking, and we found that it really comes down to mindset. So transaction-based networking asks the question, what can you do for me? Whereas relationship-based networking asks, what can we do to support each other? So to set yourself up for success in this stage, we really suggest 1, adopting a relationship-based networking mindset, 2, setting some SMART goals specifically related to networking, and 3, optimizing your LinkedIn profile for networking and building your brand on that platform. You'll see here that we've outlined 4 strategies to start building your LinkedIn presence, which includes templates that take the guesswork out of things like reviving existing connections and also reaching out and making contact with new connections. To help you keep track of these activities as you're doing them, remember to follow up. We created this networking tracking template where you can write all the details about the interaction and what you want to follow up with and when, so that you can keep the momentum going. Now that you have an optimized LinkedIn profile, it's time for the 9th step of a social impact career change, which is fine-tuning your professional resume. So having a great resume matters because you really don't have a lot of time to make a great first impression on the hiring manager. According to some eye tracking studies from LinkedIn, recruiters look at your resume on average for just 7 seconds. So having a really compact and condensed and high impact resume matters even more when you consider how little time you have to really grab their attention. To help set yourself up for success at this stage, we share detailed guidance for each section of your resume, as well as formatting tips and other best practices to make it stand out in the right way. We also share a STAR brainstorm activity here to help you develop the most compelling bullet points that you can for the most important section of your resume, which is the work experience section. So you can come in here, make your own copy, and start adding some texture and color to these experiences by not just sharing, an overview of your responsibilities or the qualities of that role, but really explaining how the actions you took laddered to success for those previous employers. So with a polished resume in hand, it's time for the last step of our process, which is the culmination of all the hard work you've done so far, acing the interview. It's important to keep in mind here that the interview is an opportunity for both you and the hiring manager to decide if the job is the right fit for your unique combination of characteristics, talents, and skills, but also making sure that you're the right fit for the job from the company's perspective. So going in, you'll want to be prepared to explain exactly how your combination of skills, experiences, and strengths map to the role for the company that you're interviewing for. We offer a number of suggestions to help you feel prepared before, during, and after your interview so that you can leave a strong impression, including tips for answering common questions and even ideas for following up. Thanks for watching this walkthrough of our 10-step career change to social impact guide. You can download your own copy of the complete guide with all of the activities and templates at movingworlds.org/career change for social impact. For even more custom tailored support, we hope you'll apply to the Moving Worlds Institute Global Fellowship Program. See you next time.